Let's go ahead and talk about the October 22nd, 2025 episode of AEW Dynamite. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it now. We see like a promo package from Hangman Adam Page, and he was talking about what happened this past Saturday at Wrestle Dream, and he was talking about how he's going to get his hands on Samoa Joe after what him and the Ups did. So yeah, he says he's going to get his hands on all three of them pretty soon. But then we kick it off with the first match of the night. It was the AEW Trios Tag Team Champions, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Kazuchika Shibata, the Ops, versus Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP, the Hurt Syndicate, in a six-man tag team match for the AEW Trios Tag Team Championships. So yeah, we get to this match. In this match, it was pretty good. All six of these guys beating the hell out of each other, going back and forth and everything. And then we see MVP and Samoa Joe going at it. MVP was about to hit the playmaker onto Samoa Joe, but then we see Ricochet popping up on the ring apron, distracting MVP, and then MVP got caught up in the Okada clutch by Samoa Joe, and MVP had to tap out. So yeah, the Ups defeated the Hurt Syndicate tonight to retain the AEW Trios Tag Team Championships, and then MVP got Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, and all three guys chased after Ricochet and the Gates of Agony because they was up there as well on the stage, and they chased after him backstage. So yeah, that's what happened there for the match and all that stuff. I'll give it all 3 stars as well. I'll give it a pretty decent start to Dynamite. But then after all that stuff, we see Samoa Joe cutting a promo after the match because Tony Schiavone got into the ring asking the questions and all that stuff about Adam Page and everything. And then before he got to that, he starts talking crap to San Antonio, Texas, because that's where they're at tonight. And he was talking about the women being fat and everything, and how Powerhouse Hobbs has to pick them up and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what he was saying there. And then he was talking about how Adam Page will be losing just like Texas does with their sports. So yeah, that's what he was talking about there. And he was talking about how he's going to get that world title pretty soon. But yeah, that's what Samoa Joe was saying. They're sending a message out to Hangman there. And then after that, we see Mercedes Moné arriving to the arena. And then we see Renee Paquette interviewing the AEW Women's Champion, Kris Statlander. Kris Statlander was talking about what happened this past Saturday at Wrestle Dream and all that stuff about Toni Storm and talking about how they had a great match and everything, but now she's focused on Mercedes Moné, and she says that she's going to defeat her as well. So yeah, that's what happened there. And yeah, up next we're going to be seeing Darby Allin. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. The next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next segment of the night where we see Darby Allin. He comes out there to the ring, and he lays the AEW flag across the ring, and he starts talking about what happened this past Saturday at Wrestle Dream against Jon Moxley, and says that he proved to everyone that he wasn't going to quit, how he's never going to quit. He says that he already climbed Mount Everest and everything, and he already showed what he would do to become the top guy in AEW and all that, and how he would die for the company. And then he says that, the Death Riders, he already knows that they're still around and all that stuff, and he says that, he's going to kill off the Death Riders and how he's not far behind from them. So yeah, that's what Darby Allin says, sending a message to the Death Riders there. But yeah, pretty decent promo from Darby Allin there. But yeah, up next we're going to be seeing a Fatal 4-Way tag team match with the women up next on AEW Dynamite, and much more later on tonight. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next match of the night. It was Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata versus Julia Hart and Sky Blue, the Sisters of Sin, versus Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, versus Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale in a Fatal 4-Way tag team match. And winner of this match gets to choose their opponents in the first round of the Women's Tag Team Championship Tournament. So yeah, that's what this match is all about. And yeah, we get to this match. And this match, it was a pretty good one. All these women was beating the hell out of each other. We started getting towards the ending of this match, all the women starts taking out each other. And at one point, we actually see Willow Nightingale hitting the pounce onto Megan Bayne, taking her out. Willow Nightingale gets taken out as well. And then we see Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata double teaming onto Penelope Ford, with Queen Aminata hitting a headbutt on her, and then we see Jamie Hayter hitting the Haterade onto Penelope, pinning her for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata defeated Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne, Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron and Julia Hart and Sky Blue tonight in the Fatal 4-Way tag team match. And yeah, then after the match ended, we see Jamie Hayter grabbing the mics, and she says that the people that they're going to be facing in the first round of the tag team tournament will be Julia Hart and Sky Blue. So yeah, that's what she says there, and sending a message out to them because they're paying to her. So yeah, that's what Jamie Hayter was saying there for the match and all that stuff. I'll give it 3 stars. That's what I'll give it. It was a pretty good match. But yeah, then after that match ended, we see the Young Bucks knocking on Tony Khan's door. He's not answering. Renee Paquette comes up to interview the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks tells her to go away and all that stuff. And then they was talking about what happened this past Saturday at Wrestle Dream, and they was talking about how they need more money and all that stuff. And then Tony Khan finally comes out there and he says that, you know what, he'll put some money on the line. And then he says that later on Collision, it will be Jurassic Express and Jet Speed versus the Young Bucks and FTR in a 8-man tag team match for $400,000. So yeah, that's what Tony Khan says there. He sets that match up, and FTR comes out of Tony Khan's office and all that stuff, and they was talking about the past history with them and the Young Bucks. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, I'll see you guys later until the next thing happens on AEW Dynamite. See you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next segment of the night where we see Renee Paquette. She's inside the ring and there's a cake and everything, a celebration for Mercedes Moné. And then all of a sudden she introduces Mercedes. Her theme song plays. There's a bunch of those guys that came with her to the arena that's holding each title and all that stuff. But instead of Mercedes Moné coming out there, we see the Mercedes Moné puppet that Harley Cameron got. And yeah, she's telling Renee Paquette to do the CEO dance. She starts doing it and all that stuff. And then she was talking about winning and retaining the TBS championship, went to 3 different countries in 3 days and all that stuff, winning titles. So yeah, that's what Harley Cameron was saying there with the Mercedes Moné puppet and all that stuff. But then the real Mercedes Moné comes out there, and Mercedes comes out there. She says that, she's not too happy, and she was talking about Harley Cameron and everything, how Harley Cameron wanted to first team up with her, but now she's mocking her and all that stuff, and then smashes the puppet face into the cake. Harley Cameron is all upset about that, but then all of a sudden, up from underneath the table, we see Kris Statlander picking up Mercedes because Mercedes is about to smash Harley Cameron's face onto the cake, but Statlander got Mercedes up there and then tosses her face first into the cake and then slams her through the table, laying her out, sending a message to her. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment there, setting up for their match at Full Gear. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment. But yeah, then after that, we see Jon Moxley cutting a promo from a promo package and all that stuff, talking about how he's going to get his hands on Kyle O'Reilly tonight and all that after what happened with Darby Allin this past Saturday at Wrestle Dream. So yeah, that's what happened there. Up next, it'll be Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly, one-on-one up next on Dynamite. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next match of the night. It was Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly one-on-one. We get to this match, and this match, it was going pretty decent for the most part. I think Marina Shafir was the only one at ringside for this match. And yeah, we see Kyle O'Reilly doing pretty well up against Jon Moxley, locking on the ankle lock, and Moxley fighting out of that. And then we see Kyle O'Reilly doing a lot of other submissions, trying to make Jon Moxley tap out, but Moxley kept on fighting out of it. At one point, Jon Moxley hits the power driver onto O'Reilly. He pins him 1, 2. O'Reilly barely kicked out at 2, still has some life in him. And then we see O'Reilly fighting back, managing to lock on the ankle lock once again onto Mox. And then Mox grabs the referee, punching him in the face. And then that's when a bunch of referees comes running into the ring and all that stuff, and calling for a disqualification. So yeah, Kyle O'Reilly defeated Jon Moxley by disqualification. And yeah, we see Kyle O'Reilly going back after Moxley, and then we see the rest of the conglomeration coming down there as well. And then we see the Death Riders coming in there as well, brawling and everything, and getting separated apart. But up next, it will be the conglomeration versus Death Riders in a 6-man tag team match up next on AEW Dynamite. But yeah, for that match between Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly, I'll give it 2.5 stars as well. I'll give it. But yeah, that 6-man tag team match is up next. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next match of the night. It was Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Roderick Strong, the conglomeration, versus Claudio Castagnoli, Willa Yuta, and Daniel Garcia, the Death Riders, in a six-man tag team match. We get to a six-man tag team match. It was a pretty good one. It was back and forth and everything. All these guys beating the hell out of each other, going back and forth. But then we start getting towards the ending of this match where both of these teams pick up near falls. By the ending, we did see Mark Briscoe hitting the J Driller onto Willa Yuta, pinning him for the 3 count. So yeah, the conglomeration defeated the Death Riders tonight in a six-man tag team match. But then after the match ended, we see Pac running in there, going at it, attacking Mark Briscoe and all of them, and same for Jon Moxley. They're all brawling. So yeah, everybody else is brawling inside of the ring. And then we see Claudio Castagnoli picking up Orange Cassidy, about to launch him over the top rope onto the announce table, up until Darby Allin comes out there making the save, actually hitting Claudio in the back of the leg with the baseball bat and in the stomach, and then Claudio gets saved. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good match, and what happened after the match was pretty good with Darby Allin saving Orange Cassidy from Claudio Castagnoli. But yeah, for the match, what happened after the match, I'll give it all 3.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. It was pretty good stuff. But yeah, then after that, we see Mercedes Moné talking about the stuff with the cake and all that stuff earlier tonight. But then Athena comes up, and Athena pretty much says that, hey, they should be tagging up for the women's tag team title tournament. And Mercedes actually accepted. So yeah, it looks like Athena and Mercedes Moné will be a tag team in this women's tag team tournament. So yeah, that'll be pretty good stuff. But yeah, up next we're going to be hearing from Kyle Fletcher up next on Dynamite, and later on tonight in the main event we're going to be seeing Kazuchika Okada defending the AEW Unified Championship up against Bandido later on tonight in the main event. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next segment of the night where we see the TNT Champion Kyle Fletcher and Don Callis. They both come out there to the ring, and Kyle Fletcher was talking about how he retained the TNT Championship at Wrestle Dream up against Mark Briscoe and all that stuff, and he was talking about the TNT Championship and everything up until he gets interrupted by Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe comes out there, and Mark Briscoe pretty much wants another opportunity for the TNT Championship because he says that he can prove to himself that he can beat Kyle Fletcher and become the TNT Champion. But then Don Callis tells Mark Briscoe no. So yeah, that's what happened there, but it looks like Mark Briscoe will continue on going after the TNT Championship still. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment there. But then after that, we see Renee Paquette interviewing Mina Shirakawa backstage, and she was talking about Timeless Tony Storm and everything, about them two teaming up in the Women's Tag Team Championship Tournament. But then she gets interrupted by Tekla, and then pretty much now they set up a match for Collision. It will be Tekla versus Mina Shirakawa at AEW Collision. So yeah, that match will be happening on Collision there. But yeah, up next it will be Kazuchika Okada versus Bandido 1-on-1 for the AEW Unified Championship up next in the main event of Dynamite. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on AEW Dynamite, we get to the next match of the night. It was the AEW Unified Champion Kazuchika Okada versus Bandido 1-on-1 for the AEW Unified Championship. We get to this match, and this match, it was a really good one. It was back and forth and everything. It looked like a couple times that Bandido almost picked up the win because he hit the 21 plex onto Okada. He pinned him 1, 2. Okada barely kicked out at 2. So yeah, he did kick out at 2, and then Okada was trying to hit the Rainmaker a couple times, but then Bandido kept on countering that. Okada was going after Bandido's shoulder a lot of times in this match. And then at one point, we actually see Bandido managing to fight back against Okada, picking him up on his shoulders, pretty much hitting that go-to-sleep type move onto Okada. And then he was trying to 21 plex once again, but then Okada counters the 21 plex, catching Bandido and managing to hit the Rainmaker onto him, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Kazuchika Okada defeated Bandido tonight in a 1-on-1 match to retain the AEW Unified Championship. That's what happened there. Really great match. For that match, I'll give it 4 stars as well. I'll give it. And yeah, then after that match ended, we see Kazuchika Okada celebrating. Don Callis was on commentary for this match, and he goes in the ring celebrating, and then we see the rest of the Don Callis family celebrating with Okada as well. Kyle Fletcher, Lance Archer, and so many others celebrating with them up until we see the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Konosuke Takeshita. He comes walking out there, and then Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher quickly got out of the ring, trying to stop Konosuke, and Konosuke's not too happy with Okada, and Okada's just smiling at him. So yeah, that's what happened there, and then the show ends. But yeah, I would say that was match of the night right there, was the main event. That match was pretty good. But yeah, for tonight's AEW Dynamite, I'll give it 7.5 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was a pretty decent show. But yeah, that's why I'll give the whole show. But yeah, that has been my AEW Dynamite October 22nd, 2025 reviews. Like, subscribe to TNW Wrestling on YouTube, subscribe to my other channel, Word of Kris, and subscribe to this channel, Kris McDaniels, and follow me on all my social media accounts. I'll be down there in the description box. And I'll see you guys later for this Friday Night SmackDown reviews. See you guys later. Till then.